so much for coming. I appreciate your interest in free inquiry, free speech, free discussion, and free debate. It is unfortunate manifestation of some of the societal ills that plague us today that certain quarters are so afraid of discussion that they would rather engage in cowardly boycotts than in actual challenges to their cherished beliefs and honest and respectful mutual discussion and exchange of ideas among people who disagree. I am not among that party. I am happy to deal with any and all of your own objections in the question period. Now, in any case, freedom of speech is, of course, one of the principal issues that has come up as a result of how this event was advertised, and so that's going to be something that will be preoccupying us today. But in general, there are larger issues at play in the question of what is the nature of Islamic jurisprudence and what we need to know about it. I come to you as somebody who is a very serious adherent and committed adherent to the principles enunciated in the United Nations document, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was formulated and adopted by the UN in 1948, and which guarantees to, essentially, to all the people in the world, insofar as such guarantees can be given, the freedom of speech, the freedom of conscience, the equality of rights of all people before the law. And those rights, I believe, are absolutely foundational and essential to the life and health of any truly free society. And as such, I am committed to protecting, defending them, and making clear why they are important and why they matter. When it comes to Islamic jurisprudence and what we need to know about it, it becomes a matter of concern for all free people because of the challenges that Islamic jurisprudence actually does present, in particular to the freedom of speech, the freedom of conscience, and the equality of rights of all people before the law. Now, at the outset, I have to emphasize that to say that, and I will illustrate it and document it momentarily, but to say that is not to say that every Muslim or any given Muslim is a foe of the freedom of speech, the freedom of conscience, and the equality of rights of all people before the law. The formulations of Islamic jurisprudence are one thing, and the beliefs and the commitment to those formulations of any given individual is quite another. In every religious tradition, as well as in really every philosophical tradition and political tradition as well, among its adherents there is a spectrum of belief and knowledge and fervor. There are some people who are deeply committed to the principles that are enunciated within the tradition in question, and who are absolutely committed to carrying those principles out in their individual lives and spreading them to others. And then there are others who may bear the name of Muslim or Christian or Jew or Buddhist or communist or whatever, and who have very little knowledge of or interest in the actual content of that self-identification, and it doesn't actually have any impact in how they live their day-to-day lives. And there's also pretty much every variation and gradation in between, so that you will find people who bear the name of something and they have a varying degree of attachment to it for a huge variety of reasons. There's an enormous number of influences on all of us, intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually, and in every other way. And so, we are discussing here Islamic jurisprudence, which is a matter of objective investigation. It says what it says, and what it says can be objectively verified and is objectively verifiable. And consequently, when we discuss Islamic jurisprudence, although we are not thereby making any conclusions, drawing any conclusions about any individual or group, nonetheless, the conclusions that we do come to and the discoveries that we may make about Islamic jurisprudence do have an impact on us insofar as there are people in the world who are taking those formulations from Islamic jurisprudence seriously and trying to act them out into the world, and insofar as those teachings have impact upon non-Muslims individually and non-Muslim states. And so that is where it really all comes down to why this matters and why we're having this talk today. Now, Islamic jurisprudence is formulated primarily from the Quran, which is the Islamic holy book. Traditionally in Islam, it is believed that it is a perfect copy of the al-Kitab, the mother of the book, which existed forever with Allah, and was delivered piecemeal over a period of 23 years through the angel Gabriel to Muhammad in perfect fashion, and collected shortly after his death to form the book that we have today. And so it is the eternal and perfect words of God that are valid for all time, and which is the supreme guide for human behavior. The Quran itself, in numerous places, tells Muslims that they must obey Allah as well as his messenger, that is Muhammad. And that in some places it actually says to obey the messenger is to obey Allah. But the thing about the Quran is that it tells us very little about what Muhammad actually said and did. And so there grew up very early in Islamic history a body of literature known as the Hadith, or reports, which are reports of the words and deeds of Muhammad. And those, when they are deemed authentic by Islamic scholars, are considered normally for Islamic faith and practice. Together with the Quran, the authentic Hadith form the Sunnah, which is accepted practice, the practice that one must follow as a believer in Islam. Now, Islamic jurisprudence covers every aspect of human life. And as a matter of fact, Muslim polemicists of the modern age, notably in the 20th century, Sayyid Qutb, who was a theorist of the Muslim Brotherhood, which was an international Islamic organization founded in Egypt in 1928 and found now pretty much every corner of the world, including very much so in the United States. The polemic that Sayyid Qutb formulated in regard to Western secularism and the Judeo-Christian tradition was that while Christianity offered a series of vague moral precepts, Islam was a comprehensive program and a total system for every aspect of human life. And the Islamic law that was formulated from the Quran and Hadith would cover everything. And this is true. This is his observation, whatever its value as polemic, is certainly completely accurate in terms of the nature of Islamic law. There are laws governing pretty much anything you can think of in terms of human behavior, including the governance of the state and the relationship between one state and another, particularly between Muslim states and non-Muslim states. It is, in other words, a political program as well as one governing individual piety and individual behavior. As it developed over the centuries, there were scholars of Islam in various places whose teachings were valued in terms of their ability to formulate laws from the raw material of the Quran and Hadith. And over time, there were 4 primary schools of Islamic jurisprudence among Sunni Muslims and 1 primary among Shiites that became paramount. And to the degree that one can say pretty much that nowadays, virtually all Muslims, the overwhelming majority of Muslims, belong to or consider themselves to understand Islam as formulated by one of these 5 schools of jurisprudence. In these schools of jurisprudence, they take the material of the teachings of Muhammad and the Quran and have formulated, enunciated this vast system of laws, including political laws, as well as laws for individual behavior. They are the 4 Sunni schools, the Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi'i, and Hanbali, all of them, each of them named after the great scholar who is considered its pivotal figure, and the Jafari school among Shiites. Now, this is not 5 sects or 5 denominations. There is a great deal of overlap. As a matter of fact, they pretty much agree upon almost everything.